Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I am here with a tag video. If you guys watched my February wrap-up, I had this weird thing happen during the month of February that I did not intend to do, where a string of my books had some sort of connection to each other. And I thought it was really interesting, and I wanted to try to do it again because I just thought it was so fun. So, because it's kind of based on the whole, I don't even know what you call it, the kind of idea that, it's called 6 degrees of separation, which is this idea that, that you are in either 6 or less social connections away from being connected to everyone else in the world. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. There's also a fun game, like party game people do, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's kind of the same idea, where like you can name any actor out there, and within like 6 degrees of separation, you can link that person to Kevin Bacon. So it's kind of the same idea, but with books. And I wanted to try to do it again. So I got on the YouTube and did a search, and of course someone's already done a tag that is based on this idea. And it's called the 6 Degrees of Separation book tag. And it was created by Peter Likes Books. And so this is an original tag because somebody already came up with the idea, but I'm still gonna do it because I thought it was fun. And I wanted to try to see if I could make 2 of my favorite books connect in some way by 6 degrees of separation, which means there's five books between them, yes. So the 2 books that I'm going to connect together are, like I said, 2 of my favorite books, though they are quite different. The first one is The Stand by Stephen King, which is a behemoth of a book, by the way, about a plague that takes out 99% of the world's population. And it's about the people that remain and how they kind of divide up, and it becomes kind of a story of good versus evil. It's a fabulous book, absolutely love it. I actually want to reread it hopefully this summer, especially with everything going on right now with the coronavirus, which I know is not the same. The death rate is nowhere near as high as is in this book, but it just makes you think about, for me, when you hear about like any sort of pandemic or epidemic, you're like, makes me think of this book. So I'm gonna go from The Stand by Stephen King to the beloved classic Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So according to this experiment, these books somehow are connected to each other. Or are they? We're gonna find out. Okay, so my first step in connecting The Stand to Jane Eyre is, like I just said, this book is about a plague that takes out 99% of the population. So it's very much an apocalyptic book, because the first part of the book, yes, is you're meeting all these characters, and the plague is like just wreaking havoc and killing everybody. And it's about their kind of personal little stories about how the plague affected them. And then you start to see the after effects, and it's very much the post-apocalyptic side of things. So my first connection, is I'm going from The Stand to The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which is also a post-apocalyptic story, though this one, if I remember right, it doesn't tell you exactly what happened to make the world basically fizzle out and there's very few people left. I don't think it tells you. I don't think it was a plague, but I can't remember. It might have been war or something like that. But yeah, so that's how these 2 books are connected. Okay, so my next degree of separation, getting one step closer to Jane Eyre, is that in this book, the main characters are a father and a son. So it's very much about that parental relationship and how this very stressful situation affects that relationship and that bond. So I chose another book that has a parental bond in it, though it's a little bit more twisted than this one, but that is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. In this book, you have a mother-daughter relationship that is very strained and strange, and as the book progresses, you kind of see why. But it definitely deals with that relationship and how it affects our main character in her everyday life and just affects her as a person. All right, getting one step closer to Jane Eyre. My next connection is that the main character in this book, her name is, what is her name? Camille, there we go. She is a journalist. So I chose another book that also has a main character as a journalist, and that book is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. In this book, our main character, Scott, is a journalist, and he is investigating the death of this young woman named Ashley, whose father was a very prolific filmmaker. And her death is ruled a suicide, but he doesn't think it was a suicide and starts to kind of investigate it. So it just gets crazy, and yeah. So that is how Sharp Objects and Night Film are connected. So my next connection that's getting me closer and closer to Jane Eyre is that in this book, as you're reading it, there are various ways in which the plot moves along and in which the way the story is told. You get website pages, you get photographs, you get news articles like this one that kind of help to piece the story together and just tell the story. So another book that does that in a way is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This book is about a parasitic worm, we'll just say, that attacks this group of Cub Scouts that are like doing a camp out on this island. And so the story kind of goes back and forth in time, and a big chunk of the story you get from reading news articles about the incident, and also about you get like transcripts from, I believe it was like a court case where they're trying to figure out where this parasite came from and how it got loose on the world and all that good stuff. So that's how these two are connected, is that they are told using things like news articles and multimedia. All right, so the next connection I'm going to make is that this book takes place off the coast of Prince Edward Island in Canada, a little tiny island off the coast of Prince Edward Island. So I bet you didn't think these books had any connection, but Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery also takes place on Prince Edward Island. Maybe not on that little tiny island exactly, but Prince Edward Island is the setting that brings these two stories together. Bet you would have never thought that, right? All right, so if you've been counting, we only have one more stop to get from Anne of Green Gables to Jane Eyre. How are we gonna do it? I bet some of you know. If you've read both these books, you probably know. But our main character in Anne of Green Gables, Anne Shirley, is an orphan. And so is our main character, Jane, in Jane Eyre. So that is how these two books are connected. Orphans as main characters. See how I did that? How I got from Stephen King to Charlotte Bronte. Wasn't this fun? Wasn't this a good time? I could definitely like do this a couple more times because I think it's a good time. I think it's fun. So I'm not going to particularly tag anybody, but if you want to try this for funsies, just to see if you can do it, what I did was I picked my two books first and found connections that way. So I challenge you to do that because it's just a little more challenging, for lack of a better word. But yeah, if you want to do this because you just want to try it out, I highly encourage you because it's really fun. It really gets you thinking about your books and how in ways books that you would not think would have anything to do with each other are connected. So it seems like the 6 degrees of separation kind of works, at least in this situation. So yeah, that is all I have for today, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And thank you to Peter from Peter Likes Books for doing this tag. And yeah, I hope you guys try it and let me know if you try it because I would love to see what you guys come up with. So I am gonna go now. So you have a nice day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.